Am I the asshole for punishing my husband for throwing away my dinner? To preface, my husband, 33, and I, 29, have been together for 4 years. He's vegan and I am not. He cooks for himself and I cook for myself since he doesn't eat meat products. Last night I prepared dinner and sat on the couch to eat and watch TV. I heard my phone ring upstairs and went to answer it as it was an important call. I got caught up in the conversation and didn't realize that I spent 6 minutes on the phone. I went downstairs after the call ended and saw my husband sitting on the couch. I looked past him and saw my dinner plate was gone. I looked around asking if he touched it, and he said he dumped the food in the trash can because it looked like it was left on the coffee table for a long time and there was a bad smell coming out of it, almost like the meat was rotting inside, and said that while making a disgusted face. I was floored. I yelled at him, "What the hell is wrong with you? I just prepared dinner for myself and was about to eat, but had to take a 6-minute phone call and come back." He said he didn't know the food was fresh since he was in his office working, but still insisted there was a weird smell coming from the plate. I said that it was none of his concern and he should have left it alone, but he defended himself, saying it wasn't his fault his eyes got tired of working and wanted to watch TV. But I decided to leave meat laying around for him to feel disgusted, knowing how he reacts to being exposed to meat products. He started making gagging sounds, and then went on about the living room being mutual space, and I disrespected him by leaving meat around. I mentioned that he always eats his food in the living room, sometimes the bedroom even. He said, "So you're saying that you're disgusted with my cooking?" And I asked if he was disgusted with mine, but he explained that his problem was me leaving meat on display with total lack of consideration for his health. We got in a big argument, then I went upstairs and refused to do the dishes after he reminded me, since that's my part of the chores. He ended up doing them himself and started complaining that I was punishing him for what happened by making him do the dishes with his injured hand, as he had had an accident. I said since his injured hand threw my dinner away, then it can do the dishes just fine. But he said that I'm violating the deal and not sticking to my part of the chores. Am I the asshole? I think maybe he was right in that the living room is shared space and I shouldn't have left meat there. Now in the comments, not the asshole. So your husband is a vegan and doesn't agree with eating meat, but surely by throwing your food away, he's now made it so the animal died for absolutely no reason, since you didn't get to eat it. Not only does he sound rude, controlling, condescending, and obnoxious, he's also furthering the problem by wasting the meat that would have at least died for a reason if you'd have been able to eat it. I absolutely hate people that force their way of life on others. I'm a vegetarian but would never stop my husband eating meat because that's his choice. People like this don't care about animals dying. They care about feeling virtuous. Then he's even more of an asshole than I originally thought. Exactly this. There was an episode of Naked and Afraid, and at one point with a vegan, and she flat out helped her meat-eating partner kill and clean an animal that they caught. She used the skin to make clothing items, the bones to make tools, and the stomach was fashioned into a water skin. She didn't eat any of it, but she sure as hell didn't waste it either. Obviously it's a TV show, but that feels like exactly the type of thing that most vegans would do. The whole point is that we have grown technologically as a species, where eating meat for survival due to its calorie-dense nature is no longer necessary and therefore cruel. Actually surviving on nuts, berries, and bark in the wild is immensely time-consuming, if not straight impossible depending on environment. When you gotta eat, you gotta eat. Not the asshole. He knew what he was doing. At first it seemed like an honest mistake. However, he then said that you left meat there for him to be disgusted, which implies he threw it out because he didn't want to be near meat, not because he thought the food was old. Also, having cooked it just 6 minutes ago, the food would still be warm, which he would have felt through the plate. Although he was the asshole, you need to decide if your different lifestyles are compatible. It wasn't an honest mistake. Meat doesn't stink like it's rotting after 6 minutes. There is no way that meat looked like it was days old. He was trying to make it look like an honest mistake. I bet he thinks all meat smells like it's rotting, even when it's perfect. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for making my daughter sleep in the backyard after what she did to our housemaid? My male 46, daughter 16, is a high school junior. I noticed recently that she's been behaving in a bad manner, constantly commenting on other people's looks, belongings, and calling them stuff that isn't cool, and just being insensitive. It's like she lost a filter or something because usually she's polite, but my wife suspected that our daughter's sudden misbehavior occurred after she started hanging out with the new girls from the school. Basically the mean girl type, and has picked up on their behavior. I've sat with my daughter and had many discussions about how her behavior has been negatively affecting everyone around her. Our housemaid is the person most affected here, and my daughter has chosen her to be the target for her hair, clothes, etiquette, criticism. She has complained about our daughter calling her offensive names like filthy and gross for cleaning certain areas in our house. I took a stand and explicitly told my daughter that I'd punish her if she ever said stuff like that to our housemaid again. Last week, my daughter had a party to go to. Earlier that day, she called our housemaid filthy, so I grounded her by not letting her go to the party. She threw a fit and called our housemaid a liar, saying she never ever called her that. That was the end of it. Days later, my daughter came to me saying she couldn't find her iPhone after looking everywhere. She asked me to call her number, and I did. My wife and I were stunned to discover that the iPhone was ringing inside our housemaid's bag. I had a confrontation with her immediately, and she denied and cried, saying that she never touched the phone nor had any idea how it got there. I noticed my daughter calling her a thief repeatedly, so I told her to stop and go to her room. I checked the indoor camera before continuing the argument and saw my daughter place her iPhone inside our housemaid's bag. I was livid. I apologized to the housemaid and gave her the rest of the day off. I then showed the video to my daughter, and she was absolutely speechless. I said what she did was immoral and straight up offensive to tamper with that poor woman's livelihood over a petty party that she couldn't go to. I told her she was grounded and will have to spend the night in the backyard. She's a germaphobe. But she cried, begging me not to make her sleep with the dirt, insects, and hot temperature. I refused to discuss it, or I'd make it 2 nights. My wife said I should go easy on her, but I said calling people filthy and accusing them of stealing wasn't okay. In fact, it was the absolute worst. I then went through with my punishment. The reason I chose this punishment was because of the fact that my daughter said that she's a germaphobe and uses this excuse to insult others' hygiene and appearance. Our backyard has dirt and bugs in it, and this kind of thing gets her uncomfortable, but other than that, the backyard is 100% safe. Question: why doesn't she clean up and do the house chores as punishment instead? Because I've already tried this punishment before, and it didn't work because she deliberately stopped eating for days to get out of it, and ended up in the emergency department for low blood pressure. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your daughter deserves a DEFCON 1 level punishment. That's some screwed up crap she did. That said, I'd probably pick something besides making her sleep in the backyard. Too temporary, too unusual, too easy for her to make herself out to be the victim. It's both too much and not enough. Spend 1 weekend per month of her grounded without phone year picking up trash on the side of the road with her. Yes, you suggested good alternatives. The punishment should be constructive and educational. Picking up trash and volunteering are effective sanctions. It's unacceptable to falsely accuse the housekeeper of stealing, and she has to endure the appropriate repercussions subsequently. The maid shouldn't do anything for the daughter until she apologizes. If she has her own bathroom, don't clean it or do any cleaning in her room. Agreed. Sleeping outside is temporary, disconnected from the crime, and too easy for her to victimize. Not the asshole for sure. Sounds like she needs to be exposed to more people in less privileged circumstances. Volunteering would help that, and doing service with her, especially if it involves cleaning, maybe at a shelter, shows that you're not above those tasks either, and sets a good character example. Maybe even strengthens the bond between you. Not the asshole. I'd sell her phone and give the proceeds to the housemaid, as well as an extra week's salary which your daughter has to pay for by either working or doing chores around the house, or paying back to the community. Buy her a Nokia brick if she needs a phone to keep in contact with her. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to move my wedding date because my brother's getting married the same day? My family are hardcore Christians, and my brother Ross and I have always been on bad terms. It extended to our adulthood, and I stopped talking to him after he mistreated my fiancé Adam, and I uninvited him to our wedding. Adam and I got engaged in 2019. We set a date for our wedding, which was on October 9th. Tim announced his girlfriend was pregnant days ago, and our parents went crazy and demanded they get married next month. Tim agreed, under the condition that he'd choose which day the wedding will be. My parents agreed, even though they're funding the entire thing. I got a call from my uncle saying Tim is getting married on October 9. I was shocked because this date is my wedding date. I knew he did it deliberately after I uninvited him from my wedding, and I had no intentions on attending his, but I went to see what the deal was. Adam refused to meet me at my parents' house, saying, "You take care of it and get back to me." I found most of my family there, including Tim and his girlfriend. I brought up the date and asked who chose it. Tim's girlfriend lied, saying my parents did, but my dad pointed, saying Tim did. I asked Tim why he chose the date to be the exact same date as my wedding, and he made a face and said to him this is a free day, since he never planned on attending my wedding, so he thought that date fits. I explained I worked for 2 years to be able to afford inviting and including everyone, and that I chose this date first and want my whole family there. He shrugged, saying it's not his problem if people choose to attend his wedding over mine. I spoke to Mum, and she said that I need to move the date since Tim has to get married fast, as his girlfriend is in her 3rd month and they have no time. I explained how much I'll lose since I already paid for the venue, invitations with original dates, and spent money on the menu and flowers. I pointed out that Tim chose the date to spite me and to divide the family, and suggested they change his wedding date since they're having it at their house and paying for everything. Mum said she can't since they wanted the wedding on October, and Tim and his girlfriend find it fair to choose the day. Tim said that I should quit making this a competition of who gets married first, but I said this wasn't the case, and I just wanted all of my family at my wedding. Mum said that if you want the whole family at your wedding, then you'll agree to move the date. You waited 2 years, can't you wait a little longer? My aunt agreed, but I thought it's illogical to expect me to move my wedding date and then threaten to not come if I don't. I got into a fight with Tim and left. My parents said that if I want them at the wedding, I should postpone the date and shouldn't blame them for not attending if I stick to my original date. Now in the comments, well, I hope your significant other has a nice family. They are showing you where you rank and what they think of you. It is not asshole-ish to decide their presence is no longer a priority for you. Not the asshole, your brother found a great way to screw you out of your wedding, and I'm guessing the rest of the family was never really on board with disinviting him in the first place, so aren't willing to take your side. Yeah, I don't know the last time I felt this bad for someone reading one of these. She saved up money and planned it years in advance to account for all the members of her family whom she loves and is paying for, and then they blow off her wedding for a wedding that was planned a week before just to spite her by her brother. Frankly, if my family blew off my family in this matter, I would legitimately cut them out of my life and try to build a new family with my fiancé and their family and not talk to mine ever again. I certainly wouldn't be consulting a third party to see whether or not I was the asshole. Straight up, I'd let them know point blank that anyone who doesn't show up to the wedding is done. They shouldn't be a part of OP's life, or the life of any future kids OP may have. The audacity to ask OP to change their wedding less than 3 weeks away for her brother is unbelievable. Not the asshole. I'd suggest fighting fire with fire. Spread the good word before the wedding about the growing family. I bet your religious family will be so happy to attend their wedding after knowing it's a shotgun wedding. I'd spread the word that OP's wedding has been 2 years in the making and will have much better food and drink compared to the brothers' hastily planned crap fest. I'm really sorry you've lost some of your family. The only way I see to maintain dignity is to carry on. People who cancel or choose your brother's wedding instead need to understand you will think differently and poorly of them, and I would go low contact, no contact as you seem fit. Whatever their reasons, who knows what they think of you. Can I also just add that their logic is totally bogus? Hardcore Christians aside, they've already done the thing that they were meant to wait with. Getting married after the fact isn't some kind of theological loophole. Shake my head. I hope you can have a great wedding, surrounded by people who really care about you and respect you. And OP replies, the problem is that they think that I'm being selfish for refusing to move my original date, but still wanting the family at my wedding. It hurts because I've worked so hard to be able to afford a wedding where all my family have a chance to attend and be included. I realize Tim is being unreasonable and probably chose this day deliberately, but since my family know about my original date, I think they should have refused to have Tim's wedding on that date. This is simple gaslighting. They know you're not being selfish. They are being selfish and they literally don't care. Go ahead with the wedding, have the literal time of your life. It is their loss and your gain. With drama queens like this, you are so much better off without them there to make even more poor choices and ruin your day. And also keep in mind everything will be a competition if you give in. Your brother will demand the family have a party for his kid on the same date you plan to have a party. They'll spend Christmas with his family instead of yours. They'll invite the brother to family events and exclude you, and this will carry over to when and if you have kids. Your kid has a school play? Oh no, suddenly, your brother's kid needs all the family to celebrate something on the exact same night. They treat you like trash, which you are not, and they will treat your kid the same way. Cut them out now, lead by example. Am I the asshole for telling my brother he downgraded? My 28 female brother, Mike, 33 male, was married to Lisa, 31 female, for 4 years, until last year when he was caught cheating with Penny, 29 female. My ex-sister-in-law was reserved, sweet, and was straight edge. No alcohol or drugs. Mike loves to party and went to court-ordered rehab before he was even 21. When Mike met Lisa, he sobered up, got an apprenticeship, and really turned his life around. He also threw that all away on Penny. Penny knew he was married. She got him crap-faced, and that is how the affair started. Penny is loud, disgusting, obnoxious, and encourages my brother to drink. He thinks she is just so fun and the life of the party. We were at a family party this weekend, and Mike and Penny were there. Some cousins we hadn't seen in years were there, and were introduced to Penny. Mike introduced her as his upgrade. Cue major side-eye from me. My brother noticed and pulled me aside later. He asked why the attitude. Penny was clearly an upgrade. I asked him to explain that comment. She's blonde, curvy, and fun, whereas Lisa looked like a librarian with no chest. I decided to clear things up for him. Penny is obnoxious, rude, slovenly, her hair is poorly bleached, and she smells like fungus. No one looks at her like a prize to be won. No one is jealous of him. Which he thinks they are? His best friends won't even talk to him anymore because Penny made a dead baby joke to his wife after a miscarriage. I let him know that he actually chose alcohol over his ex. Penny just encouraged him to do it because she had a crush on him for years. He called me a tramp, and I told him samesies. Pretty sure I'm the asshole in this one, to be honest. Edit. Pretty disappointed with myself for going after her looks though. Felt very immature after the fact. I'm going to just silently judge my brother's choices from afar from now on. And to those saying that I need to accept my brother's partner, lol, no I don't. I just won't be involved. I really did love my sister-in-law, and I really don't like how she was treated. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I think I may be the arsehole because I told my white trash brother that his even trashier girlfriend ain't a prize to be won. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. Your brother picked someone who makes dead baby jokes to his best friend after a trauma, costing him the friendship. That is not an upgrade. While I do agree with everything you say, I don't know. For some reason, something about calling a human an upgrade versus downgrade just doesn't sit well with me. It almost feels as though you value them less as a person, which I think is incorrect. Everyone sucks here in my opinion. I value someone who makes dead baby jokes to people who just had a miscarriage less than I value other, less cruel people. I value people who encourage addicts to relapse less. I may be an asshole for that, but I'm okay with it. Not the asshole. Sounds like Penny is a downgrade, but it's the grade that Mike deserves. Not the asshole. In most cases, I would say the comment would not have been appropriate, but given the history that you mention, you gave him your honest opinion and had every right to share your disgust over his behavior and actions. Our next post is titled, Am I the Asshole for Calling My Dad's Girlfriend His Mistress? My mum died of a brain aneurysm 2 years ago. She was 39 at the time. She and Dad, Ben 42 male, were no longer together before she died because Dad had an affair with his work colleague Amanda 37 female. They were getting a divorce, but Mum died before it was finalized. I was 18 when Mum died, and to be honest, I resented my dad because of the heartache he caused my mother, and I blamed him for her death. After Mum's funeral, I refused to talk to him until recently. He contacted me, and we started to reconnect. He and Amanda are still together, and I've started to accept their relationship because I saw how happy my father is with her. Last month, Dad informed me that he and Amanda had gotten engaged, and he wanted to let me know first before he shares the news to everyone. I told him I am happy for them. Last week, they had an engagement party where they invited some of our relatives and friends. During the toast, Dad said something like, "I just can't wait to marry the perfect woman. I thank God for giving me the love of my life after all those years that I wasted with someone else." I walked out of the room after hearing what my father said. He basically considered his marriage to my late mother a waste of his time. It broke my heart, and I wanted to leave right away, but Dad's friend, my godfather, and Amanda followed me. Amanda said that Dad wants me to give a message, but I told her I can't do that, and I need to go as I feel sick. My godfather tried to convince me to stay and say a few words. I got tired of holding my anger in, and I just said, "I have no good words to say about my cheating father and his mistress. I need to go." Amanda got angry with me and called me an asshole, and I need to get over the past. I didn't even say anything and just left them behind. I was with my boyfriend who picked me up when Dad called, and he was very furious with me. Apparently what I said made Amanda cry, and he's now demanding an apology. He also accused me of ruining his engagement party. I told him I could have made a scene, but I didn't, and there is no way I am apologizing for stating facts. Am I the asshole? Did I overreact and ruin their party? My boyfriend said he understands how I feel, but my grandparents on my dad's side are disappointed with me for overreacting and calling Amanda a mistress. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I'm an asshole because what I said made my dad's girlfriend cry, which I think ruined their party. I think my anger was misdirected, and calling Amanda a mistress was an asshole move. Now in the comments, not the asshole. What he said was disgusting. You didn't ruin it. You tried to walk away, and people tried to stop you. F them. I'm so sorry that you had to witness that. And OP replies, "Thank you. And I didn't draw attention to myself. I just left discreetly. You should have gone back in and made a toast. To my cheating father and his mistress, I hope life treats you as good as you have treated others. Now, your waste of time child is going home." Thank you for the realization of why my father didn't invite me to his second wedding. He probably thought that I'd do something like that. I'm now sitting here grinning like hell. By the way, I wouldn't have done it. It would have been unfair to my stepmom. She didn't actually know that he was still married when they first met, and she deserved better than him. Your father stood up and announced to a room full of people that his first marriage, and by extension you, a product of the marriage, was a waste of time. Where is his apology for you? Yes, this. OP, tell your grandparents and father this. Through your godfather if necessary. Your dad has made a series of poor judgment calls in his relationship with you. You have every right to be hurt and angry. If you decide to patch things up with him, you can set boundaries. One is that he never desecrates your mother's memory again. Our next post is titled, Am I the Arsehole for cancelling my daughter's horse riding camp application after she cancelled her brother's job application? I'll try to summarize this entire conflict that happened over a month/barely 2 months now. I have 2 children, Mia 16 and Ricky 18. Mia used to work at the local coffee shop for 2 months, but didn't commit nor respect time and had no work ethics. As a result, she got fired, but she didn't accept it and kept begging her former boss to get her job back, but couldn't. She was so heartbroken over losing her first job this way, and besides, the coffee shop is, or used to be, her favorite place. Also, she was saving up to attend a horse riding camp, but didn't have enough money, so I promised to pay for her enrollment and application. A week after she got fired, she learnt that her brother Ricky was trying to get her previous job. She went mad and kept begging me to not let Ricky apply to work at the coffee shop because her friends will find out and say the manager picked her brother over her. I thought that was overdramatic of her, and plus Ricky is the one to decide which place to apply at, so I told her to leave it alone. Mia refused, saying if I don't do something, then she will. Days later, Ricky told me and his mum that someone logged into his email and cancelled his job application at the coffee shop. He said he spoke with the manager and found out someone sent him a rude email pretending to be Ricky, saying he was cancelling his job application and he no longer was interested in working at the shop, adding insults to the coffee shop and the staff and the manager himself, etc., etc. The manager kicked Ricky out and even banned him from the shop completely. I immediately shouted for Mia to come downstairs, and after pressuring her, she admitted sending the rude email to the coffee shop manager to make Ricky lose the job opportunity. She defended herself, saying that she felt awful that Ricky was planning to take her place at the shop and couldn't let it happen. I was mad. I told her I'm automatically cancelling her horse riding camp application and taking the money I paid back. She tried to argue and cried, saying I promised and I knew how much this meant to her, but I said that was an automatic response to what she did, point blank, period. No ifs or buts, besides the fact she had to apologize to Ricky. My wife called me an asshole for not seeing where Mia was coming from and said my love for her was conditional, since I promised to pay for the camp but took the money back as soon as she upset me. Mia hasn't been talking to me for 2 months, except for basic words like good night, goodbye, etc. And my wife said Mia has every right not to talk to me ever again if she wanted. I wonder if I went too far, or whether Mia deserved her punishment. I won't even get started on how awful Ricky felt, or is feeling, because he's developed trust issues ever since. And edit, a lot of folks have been asking whether Mia had talked to the manager or explained what she did to her brother. The answer is no, because she refused, saying this would ruin her reputation and threatened to run away if we forced her to talk to the manager. With this threat and my wife's pressure, I had to back off, but I went to see the manager and we talked things out, but still Ricky couldn't get the job unfortunately. Now in the comments, Mad Queen says, "Not the arsehole. She did it to herself. Does your wife usually favor your daughter like this, or is it a new development? You guys should have made her go to the coffee house, explain what she did, and apologize to them, as well as cancel the camp. Does your wife think that there should be no consequences?" And OP replies, "Usually, yes. And in response to that last question, no. My wife thought that I should have used regular punishments, like taking her phone, having her care for the garden and pets for a week, or clean or wash dishes. But I thought this type of punishment wasn't enough, because what she did was not a small mistake. It was permitted, I think permanent. Ricky not only lost a job opportunity, he no longer goes to the coffee shop, which is also his favorite place too. You two need to take a step back and reevaluate Mia's behavior. Poor work ethic, unreliable, lying, vindictive. Ask your wife, is this the person she wants her daughter to be? At 16, she should know better. Obviously, she feels the world should make allowances and excuses for her as much as her mother does. Mia needs to apologize to the coffee shop manager immediately. Perhaps tell her that you would reconsider horse camp if she does so in person and apologizes to her brother. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, she did this to herself. And in my opinion, you should have never paid for it when the only reason she couldn't afford it was because she was being irresponsible. So to top it off with this behavior, you are not the asshole. Maybe you should make her go and confess to the manager, even if it changes nothing for your son's position. Edit to add, love does not mean they get to have zero consequences. You love her enough to give her consequences for her actions and help her grow into a better person. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my husband I'll use my maiden name for our baby if he misses the birth? So I am 37 weeks pregnant. Due to several health complications during my pregnancy, I've been told multiple times by multiple doctors that I might have to give birth next week as opposed to 2 weeks from now. Furthermore, I may actually go into labor this weekend or any time leading up to it. Due to these same health complications, I'm having a C-section and my doctor does not want me laboring. So should I go into labor, they're most likely pushing me through as an emergency C-section. My husband knows all of this. However, he is holding on to the 2% chance they gave him that the baby could last the 2 weeks. His sister is also pregnant, 4 weeks behind me, and her baby shower is this weekend. It will be over an hour away, and that's without traffic. So weeks ago, I declined for both of us because it didn't seem like a good idea. Well, despite having a long conversation, the shower, which is 2 days away, has come up again. It turned into a fight, as there are multiple reasons that, should I go into labor, it is just a bad situation for him to be that far away. I would list them all, but there's a character limit. Husband wants to go and support his sister and see his family, and he says that I'm keeping him on a short leash for something that probably isn't going to happen. I told him maybe he's right and nothing happens, but said should he choose to go and choose to take that risk, that should I go into labor, he most likely would miss the birth or be extremely late. And if he makes that choice, then I would give the baby my last name, my maiden name versus his family name. Husband said I was an asshole for keeping him hostage, and I'm always planning for the worst case, and that my thoughts are going to trigger labor more than anything. I said if he chooses not to be a part of this, why should the baby bear his name when he would fail on his duty as a father? He has been silent and moody since, only talking when absolutely necessary and saying that I'm trying to take everything from him. So am I the asshole? Now in the comments, not the asshole. I have had several emergency C-sections. Let me state this loud and clear for everyone not understanding it. OP won't get to active labor. It won't be 12 plus hours. The minute she shows any sign of labor, they will immediately go into surgery. An hour will not be enough time to get to the hospital, get scrubbed in, and be there for delivery. In fact, Dad will be the lowest rung on the ladder, and if he's not there when Mama is wheeled in, he won't be taken in. This is not a simple birth. This is a major operation with risks to mother and child. There's no time to be waiting for Dad. There's no allowance for him being late. They will not care about him. So yes, he is 100% the asshole if he goes an hour away from OP and a child that will arrive at literally any time. The fact that he is unbothered by the fact that she would have to go through any part of that process alone is terrible. Dude sounds like he's in straight denial about how precarious his wife's situation is. Even if everything goes perfectly, a C-section is major surgery, and OP needs someone by her side that she can trust to advocate for her while she's too incapacitated to speak for herself, and his failure to be that person for her will put a lasting dent in their marriage. He either doesn't understand how important this is, or doesn't care. And back to the post, OP leaves an update and says, "Had a long doctor's appointment. Husband will not be going to the shower, as not only has it been confirmed I have to deliver next week, but I've also been put on bed rest, so that made the decision for him. He did apologize. We had to have a long conversation. His mother was pressuring a ton of this and guilt-tripping him, primarily about coming down to the shower to see his grandma, who is very old, and it's constantly a question as to how long she has. But we had a long conversation to which it became clear we need to be low contact with mother-in-law for the time being. She has been starting other drama lately, and this was my breaking point. Am I the asshole for mocking my nephew and ganging up on him for asking me whether me or my husband was the woman? So, my family had our first get-together since the thing started on the weekend. We're all vaccinated now. During which I discovered my formerly adorably precocious kid of a nephew has hit his edgy teen stage with gusto. He had an attitude all afternoon, which culminated in him asking me and my husband, gay couple, which one of us was the woman. I was pretty taken aback and just said neither of us, we are both men, that's the point. At which point, he came up with some Evo Psych BS about how male always seeks female, and therefore even with two guys, one will always be the more feminine or something. The thing is, I know he knows better, and his whole attitude was blatantly just trying to get a rise. I didn't feel like ruining a nice afternoon by giving it to him, so instead, I decided to make a joke of it and told him seriously that no one had told us that, and in that case, we'd better figure it out ASAP, huh? My husband grabbed a notepad, drew columns for each of us, and we started noting down our various feminine and masculine aspects. Deliberately more absurd stuff like, I wear more pink but he cries easier. He's much better at sports, but I've got him beat in survival skills, etc. At some point, the other adults, minus my folks, drifted over to see what we were doing. My brother immediately wanted to join in, saying he had never really been sure in their case either, so he and his wife started their own list, and my sister and her husband, parents of nephew, followed suit. It was honestly pretty funny. We made up a point system and debated the gendering of breakfast foods. My nephew got more and more sulky. We kept asking for his verdicts, until finally he walked away in disgust and ended up hardly saying a word for the rest of the afternoon. At the time, I thought it was a harmless and amusing way of making a point about the stupidity of his argument without giving him the satisfaction of the "you were too sensitive" rise that he was obviously looking for. But earlier today, we heard from his brother saying my nephew was really upset and accusing us of being a bunch of adults ganging up on a child and of drawing his own parents into it. I honestly hadn't thought of it in that light, and now that I do, I must admit that it's not a great look. I still think he's old enough to not be catered to when he acts like this though. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I made fun of my teenage nephew's idiot statement and encouraged other adults to join in. I think I might be the arsehole because I'm the grown-up and he's still a child, albeit one going through an obnoxious stage right now. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. He was being a brat, he knew it. He dished it and couldn't take it, said loosely because you didn't even really dish it back. You joked on yourselves, not him. I think it was a great way to make the point of how ridiculous that statement was. Not the arsehole. I love how you handled it. 100% not the arsehole. You had a good time debating the relative masculinity of breakfast burritos versus pancakes. You didn't lose your cool or humiliate him. Your sentences could have started with, "Listen up, you little crap." But it didn't. Right? This is one of the best ones of these that I've read today, just because OP and his husband were able to take someone acting straight up offensive and turn it into a fun activity. Quote, debated the gendering of breakfast foods. Lucky Charms are a hetero male food, and I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. Edit, this is less important, but not the arsehole. He's old enough to know to not ask that kind of a thing. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not the arsehole. Also, you didn't gang up on him. You mocked his homophobia and gender essentialism and got other people to join in and question their own prejudices. It just might be there is a learning experience here for the young man. Edit, this could be a solid exercise in the right context. What actions or behaviors are masculine or feminine, and why do you think that? I'm so sick of people saying they're being bullied, attacked, or ganged up on when they're actually just being called out for their crap. They also like to say they're being shamed too. They deserve it. Please stop shaming me for my shameful behavior. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my nephew why he can't come to my house after school anymore? My nephew is 14. He lives with my brother, his dad, his stepmom, his stepbrother who is 11, and his half-sister who is 2. My brother's first wife died 5 years ago. My brother remarried last year, but has been with my current sister-in-law for the last 3 years. My nephew gets along really well with my 13-year-old son and 15-year-old daughter, and they hang out together a lot at my house. My brother never minded before, but recently decided that since my nephew doesn't consider his stepbrother and half-sister his siblings, that more time needs to be put into them spending time together. And he wanted me to be the bad guy and tell my nephew that he's no longer welcome after school. I told my brother I wasn't going to take the blame, and he needs to talk to the nephew if he wants to make things work. My brother said that it would be better coming from me, but I didn't go along with it. So my brother told him that I had said he wasn't welcome anymore. Nephew came to me and I was honest, that his dad wants him to spend more time with his stepbrother and half-sister. These are the terms my nephew uses, and so has decided that he shouldn't spend time at my house anymore. My nephew was pissed at his dad and told him taking away the people he wants to spend time with isn't going to make him want the other two more than he does. He said that he's not going to run to bond with them because he doesn't have his cousins. He'll just do other stuff. My brother is annoyed that I told my nephew the truth. He said that I had no right to undermine him and hurt their relationship by making nephew dislike him. I told him he did it himself, but when he said it wasn't my place, something stuck. So am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I told my nephew that his dad didn't want him hanging out at my house, so he would hang out with his step and half-siblings instead. By doing this, I did make my nephew mad at his dad. This may not have been my place to be so honest. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your brother wanted your nephew to dislike you. Quote, so my brother told him I had said he wasn't welcome anymore. I wish him good luck with lying and forcing the families to become one. Yep, dude wanted OP to be the bad guy. How sad for the kid to be cut off from people that he cares about and who care about him. Even worse that it's being done solely to manipulate him. You can't force love or affection. You can encourage it by providing a trusting, comfortable environment along with opportunities to enjoy things together and bond. But it's like planting a seed. You can water it perfectly, give it the right amount of sunlight, and tell it every day that it has to grow, but it doesn't care what you say. All you can do is wait and watch what happens. My best friend has a twin, but you would never know it. They are nothing alike and never did more than tolerate each other. If two siblings who shared a womb aren't inherently close to each other, there is no way a 14-year-old can be forced to embrace step-siblings. Trying to force him will definitely ensure that he will never like them though. Not the asshole. Your brother wanted you to be the fall guy so he could preserve what relationship he has or had with his child at the expense of your relationship with the child. If I were you, I would have done the same thing. He hurt his relationship with his son by lying to him and who knows what else. You did the right thing by talking to him like a person and telling him the truth. He needs someone to trust. Hopefully your brother can figure out how to communicate with his son better. Am I the asshole for demanding my widow sister-in-law and her kids to leave after she puts a lock on the bathroom door and denied my daughter access to it? I'm a father of a 16-year-old daughter. I own a one-bathroom, middle-sized house where me, my wife, her widow sister, and her 2 kids live. My daughter had issues with her mother and requested to live with me permanently. I had the legal stuff finalized, and my daughter moved in with us a month ago. She and her stepmom get along. So far, everything was going well. My daughter had her period days ago. Nothing new, nothing strange, except my sister-in-law came to me complaining about my daughter leaving used pads in the bathroom, causing her sons to see them. I asked where exactly, and she said in the trash can. I laughed in her face, asking if she thought this was abnormal or strange. She got upset that I didn't understand her point and wanted me to listen carefully as she explained that her boys are pretty young and shouldn't be subjected to witness stuff like that. I said I'll see what I can do. I talked to my daughter and made sure that she wasn't just leaving her used pads in full display inside the trash can. It turns out she wraps them in toilet paper, which is enough in my opinion. I told my sister-in-law there was no problem then, and she should quit being too sensitive over her boys. She got mad saying I was dismissing her concerns and reminded me her oldest has blood phobia, and my daughter, even though doing it unintentionally, keeps leaving her pads exposed. I welcomed any ideas to fix this, and she suggested my daughter throw her used pads outside the house. I stopped arguing at that point because of how ridiculous she was being. She threatened to change the bathroom door lock if I don't do something, but I laughed her off. My daughter called me the next day after getting back from school, saying her step-aunt refused to let her use the bathroom and was keeping it locked. She had to use her new friend's, the neighbor's, bathroom, but called to let me know. I was effing livid. I went home and blew up at my sister-in-law. She apologetically said the lock was only for when my daughter tries to leave her pads inside, and she would have allowed her if she agreed to put her used pads elsewhere. But my daughter was stubborn. I told her she was out of her mind to get a new lock for my door in my own house and keep my daughter from accessing the bathroom. I removed it quickly, and she kept lashing out at me and then called my wife. My wife came to calm us down, but I told her and sister-in-law that I have no problem kicking her out. My sister-in-law started crying. My wife said her sister is a widow and will be homeless without us. I said I stopped giving a crap the minute she tried to keep my daughter out of the bathroom. I demanded she leaves, but my wife said I was unfair to those kids. I bluntly said not my problem. She has 6 days to move out. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I might have let my anger make this decision for me. My sister-in-law has nowhere to go with her kids, and closing the door in her face might be cruel of me. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Boys are pretty young. Teach them that women have periods then, Christ. Your daughter has a great father. Tell sister-in-law if she doesn't like it, she can get out. Seriously. The boys are 13 and 16. They can deal with it and be glad they aren't the ones getting periods. 13 and 16 is old enough to learn to not dig through the bathroom trash. I'm seriously thinking it was their mom. Not the asshole. Yay, OP! Widows with 16-year-old and 13-year-old kids can well afford to work a full-time job, since the kids are in school most of the day and can stay home alone from say 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Or she can apply for welfare, food stamps, Section 8 housing, go to a shelter, ask her late husband's family for help. The possibilities are endless. And OP replies, she started receiving benefits after her husband passed away, but she complains it's not enough to provide for her 2 kids. The rest of my in-laws are negative and won't help. Not the asshole. We need to stop treating normal female bodily functions as disgusting or perverse. Your daughter did nothing wrong, and it's her house. Exactly. The sister-in-law is a pick-me for period-shaming the OP's daughter rather than having empathy, as it's something she also has experienced. And our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my brother and his wife they were out of their minds for asking me not to celebrate my daughter's birthday? So me and my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, have a dreadful relationship, but we are cordial as we can be. We were both pregnant at the same time, but she went into labor early and the baby was taken to the NICU with serious health issues. I kept checking on my brother daily. He was so worried and couldn't eat or sleep properly for an entire week, while his wife literally kept posting pictures of their daughter on Facebook and gleefully saying she defeated me and had the first grandchild. She meant to be hurtful, but I took no offense because I understood that she was trying to stay positive in bad circumstances. The day my daughter was born, my brother called me and my husband crying, saying his daughter was gone hours ago. We were devastated for him and sister-in-law. There were many things I couldn't do because I was afraid my sister-in-law was going to feel hurt, but throughout the next months, I started getting excluded from family events unless I leave my daughter home. My husband thought my family were being unreasonable by making these requests, but Mum said that it's a phase. My daughter's first birthday will be in a few days. We decided to celebrate at home. We got calls from family wanting to attend, which made my brother and sister-in-law upset because almost everyone apologized for not being able to attend my niece's death anniversary to attend my daughter's first birthday. I asked what can we do, and my brother and sister-in-law said they wanted me to cancel the party for my daughter since it's insensitive to celebrate her birthday this particular day while ignoring my niece's death. My husband and I said no because our daughter's first birthday is a huge event. My brother got agitated and called us cruel and said that we were selfish, and insisted I cancel the birthday if I love and care enough about his feelings as a grieving father. He added that my daughter won't remember anyway, so this party was for me and my husband. Mum suggested I move the party to the next day, but I said no. My daughter was born on X day, not Y day. Then I told my brother and his wife they were out of their minds to make such demands. My dad got in the middle of the argument after my sister-in-law started crying. I tried to end the conversation, and my husband went to the car, but my brother stopped me at the door. I apologized but said I will still be celebrating my daughter's birthday. He angrily said he didn't know why I still felt the need to give him a load of bullcrap excuses for being selfish and refusing to have some compassion towards him and his wife's loss. He said he knew that I don't like his wife, and knew that I knew how having the birthday will hurt and mess up their mind, and reminded me that I was hurting him as well, but obviously I don't care because if I do, I'd at least cancel the party for his baby's sake. He wrapped up by saying he won't ever speak to me if I go through with my plans. He gave me the most guilt-tripping look I've ever seen, and then left. It was bad, and I can't help feeling guilty. My husband is insisting that we have the party and keeps telling me we have nothing to feel guilty about. Now in the comments, not the asshole. What happened to them is very sad, but they don't get to wreck your daughter's birthday every year because something happened to them on that day. If you let them call the shots now, it will set a precedent that their dead child is more important than your living one and always will be, and that could have serious mental health repercussions on your daughter as she grows up. You stated that your family had been excluding you from events unless you didn't take your daughter. Then they are trying to guilt trip you into not celebrating her birthday and threatening to cut contact if you go ahead with the birthday celebration. Go ahead with it. It sounds like you'll be a lot happier without these people butting into your lives. They are going to punish this little girl forever for the crime of being alive if OP doesn't say enough is enough now. Anyone who thinks denying her daughter's existence is acceptable needs to be cut off. Sympathy for grief can't extend to unreasonable demands and tolerating hatred towards innocent parties. Their chosen coping method is unhealthy, irrational, not beneficial, and should not be indulged. Not the asshole. And who gathers to relive the anniversary of a death of an infant? That is not a thing. That would never be a thing in a healthy family. The fact they are even planning this and actively trying to compete with you for family attendance on what has to be your child's first birthday party can only be their ongoing attempts to erase your daughter and focus on their daughter, which they've been doing since even before she was born when their daughter was in NICU. Firstly, there is no such thing as an anniversary of a wake or anniversary of a death of an infant that families gather to celebrate. Not even royal families would do this. They are inventing that event so as to deny your daughter her first birthday. Secondly, they won't move on until they're able to focus on living and stop trying to erase the living and relive the dead. Thirdly, your sister-in-law needs therapy, desperately. And I would be very concerned about the safety and well-being of your child until she stops actively trying to erase her and replace her with the dead. Not the asshole. Your child has been excluded from family stuff all year, and that is wrong. People are saying it's just the birthday, but it'll be the same every year. I'm sad for their loss, but your child is here and should be celebrating her first birthday. Them saying she won't even remember it, this party is for you, the parents. So the party for the dead child is for who? Exactly. If OP is expected to move the birthday party because the baby won't remember it anyway, then bro and sister-in-law can move their remembrance for the same reason. Not the asshole. Are they going to insist your daughter never has a birthday party? Them not attending the party would have been completely understandable. Demanding you cancel is not. They've experienced something horrendous and need to seek professional help. You not having a party will not alleviate their pain. Am I the asshole for being upset with my husband for using my bonus on him? History. My husband, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been married about 4 years now. We dated in college and got married after. He finished college with a finance degree and thought that he would go into accounting. Well, he quickly found out that that was not his passion, so he bounced around jobs and ideas. Business, teacher, lawyer, but nothing really kept him saying this is what I want to do. This was pre-COVID, and since COVID, he's not attempted anything. He says after the pandemic, there will be a boom in jobs and he can find something that he's passionate about. I have been working full-time and thankfully my job became remote and pays the bills while keeping food on the table. The incident in question. After the fiscal year closed, my work had done really well. We sell medical testing equipment, so it was a big product of 2020. I was given a promotion, and I got a little pay raise and a small bonus. I was really excited because I could finally repair my purse and replace my shoes. My friend's puppy destroyed, but I acknowledge that I should have left my purse on a low stool in front of the puppy's bed, so my fault. I was so excited to tell my husband, but he seemed more excited than me over this promotion. He started going off how he could redo his game area and get the new systems, since he was tired of his others, and I was dumbfounded. I got really quiet because I almost could not believe what he was saying. He eventually goes out and gets himself a new system, chair, and mouse. He had basically spent my bonus. I was so upset, and ultimately hurt and numb. We ended up getting into an argument, and he called me selfish for not being happy that he got to achieve his dream, and I'm spoiled for being upset that I couldn't spend this money on me first. I basically called him an ungrateful asshole, and asked why does he deserve new stuff when I have been providing. He got really quiet on that one, and stormed out saying that he would be staying with his family, only about an hour away. I've been getting angry calls and texts due to the fact that he didn't feel supported in his own home. And if I'm making the money, I can get whatever I want when I want, and I shouldn't throw it in his face that he doesn't have an income. Which is not true. I'm trying to keep a roof over our head and food on the table. All his friends and family think that I way overreacted to something that makes my husband happy, and that the next time that we get a large sum of money, my husband said that he would let me repair my purse. I haven't responded, and I don't think I will for a few days, but I've gotten so many, "You're such a biatch," and "the asshole," and I'm starting to wonder if I really am. Now in the comments, Buffalo Bill's girl says, "Not the asshole." Also, as someone who's been in a relationship with this type of person, lawyers can be found on Google. OP, please leave. I promise it will hurt at first and you'll be scared as hell, but you're going to have a better life because of it. You don't want a child brought up in this thinking it's okay. And OP replies, "Haha, thank you for your input. I was hoping it wouldn't reach there, but after this I'm not sure. I would separate your checking accounts, although that would send him flying. I doubt your husband will ever change. Get out while you're still young and don't have large assets to split. Not the asshole. He is selfish and entitled. I would start separating your finances to protect your future self. I'm not saying you will split or should split, but this is reckless." And OP replies, "I was hoping not to have to go there because I believed a marriage was a union between two people and that they shouldn't have anything entitled to them. But after thousands disappeared, I'm starting to wonder what this union means to him. I was assuming hundreds. Thousands? That is absolutely unacceptable. Start a personal savings account with direct deposit now. Sort the details later. Thousands? Holy crap. Get him out of there. What a prig." And OP replies, "Yeah, after the account settled, it was more than a few grand. That's when I just about had a heart attack. Not the asshole, and he's trying to manipulate you into feeling bad, rather than taking responsibility for his crappy actions. You clean the house and make the money. What does he bring to your relationship? What he's done is unacceptable, childish, and selfish. I'd return his new toys and tell him to stay at his parents until he gets a clue about adult life. I'm not saying divorce him, but do not let this slide even an inch. Don't give in to his gaslighting. You were right. There is no argument in the world that he can make to justify his behavior. And OP replies, "Thank you for this. I felt so hurt that he could spend it like nothing and that I'm supposed to be the bad guy. I think this is the first time where I felt my partner isn't my partner." And back up to the post, there's an edit/update. "Wow, thank you everyone. I was not expecting this kind of support. I appreciate all the kind messages and compassion. This is more than I've ever felt in my life, so thank you, Reddit. I took the weekend to reflect on what I wanted and read through the comments and messages. I see your point and that I can't keep treating this like a marriage if he doesn't. So here is to today and my first step towards freedom. I am separating the finances immediately and contacting a local lawyer to see my options and rights, as well as therapy options for him. I will present this to him and he gets to choose, but I refuse to baby an almost 30-year-old. If he wants that, well, he has his mother. Thank you everyone, and I will try and update in the future." And now on to the update. Hello Reddit. It has been a couple of months since my last post and so much has happened. I first want to thank everyone who reached out and snapped me out of this daze with my soon-to-be ex. He was extremely toxic and just made me feel not even worth anything. Thus probably why it was so hard to see he wasn't it. So I want to thank everyone who offered words of encouragement and even the tough love. I needed to hear it. After he went back to his parents, he was waiting for my apology, which I never did. And when he noticed I drained our joint bank, he escalated, saying I was his and how I could never actually leave him and that he owned me. All of my success was his, and without him, I would be a loser dropout. My family was even worse because I'd already blocked them, so they started making fake accounts and using apps to hide their number to harass me, saying I ruined their son's life and how he sacrificed everything to get me to where I am. To throw him to the side like this was disgusting and I deserve to rot. I provided all of this to my lawyer, who recommended I take a restraining order in case he wanted to escalate further and to not engage ever, but just keep the records. This has caused my anxiety to go through the roof, and I'm working on this with my therapist. I have separated the finances completely and changed my banks. Even told them my soon-to-be ex is never allowed to access the accounts because he would take it all and run. I have changed my number and gone completely social media-less. Part of me is broken that our marriage came to an end over a computer, and I keep thinking I'm stupid and how I couldn't see the warning signs. I must look like a fool to everyone. All in all, I'm slowly picking up the pieces of my life and figuring out how to move forward. Thank you to anyone still reading this, and thank you everyone who helped me get here. Summary: I am officially filing for divorce after I never apologized to him, which only made my soon-to-be ex-husband and his family start harassing me to the nth degree. I was having a panic attack every time the phone rang, so I had to change my number and delete any social media. I am gaining my freedom from my toxic partner and his family. Now in the comments, your marriage didn't come to an end because of a computer. It came to an end because of your significant other. That just happened to be the final straw that opened your eyes to the reality of your relationship. I know this hurts, but it will get better. And OP replies, I try to remember this. It didn't end because of one event, but of course I got put on blast for divorcing over a computer and get labeled immature. It hurts, but I know I can't listen to them or I will forever be a cash cow to my ex. Tell them your ex said all of that crap about owning you and you being a loser who wouldn't make it without him. If they get back on your side, they are worth keeping around. If not, take out the trash while you're getting rid of the dumpster fire that is your ex. And OP replies, A few of my friends are on my side, but I lost the majority. They keep saying how I'm selfish and how I would be okay because I have the job. Marriage is for better or for worse, not just something convenient. How would I feel if my husband was making money and I bought something to make me feel better because I was depressed and my husband divorced me? So I dropped trying to plead my case. They can have him and his family. For worse means things like illness or financial strife, not one person being selfish to the detriment of the other. It's a partnership, and he wasn't acting like a partner. And OP replies, I guess my ex took that as even if his behavior is for the worse, I'm supposed to stay by him. I want to address this specifically. Quote, I must look like a fool to everyone. You absolutely do not. You look like someone who managed to find the courage to do something extremely difficult. Abusive relationships, and make no mistake, this was abuse. Financial abuse is a real thing, as is emotional abuse, are incredibly hard to escape from. Relationships require emotional investment, and even in a bad relationship, it's natural to think, I've put so much of myself into this relationship, so I need to try to fix it. Abusers know this, and will do everything they can to undermine your self-confidence so that fixing an unfixable relationship seems more feasible than leaving it. I am so very proud that you were able to push past the manipulation, both from him and his family, and escape from that toxic relationship. And the fact that you're taking this seriously enough to involve a lawyer is great news, because it shows that you're not going to fall into the trap of, let's try to fix this one more time. So no, you don't look like a fool, you look like a woman who has finally realized her worth as a person, and unlike a bonus from work, your soon-to-be ex-husband can't take that away from you. And OP replies, this made me tear. Thank you for these words. I really had no self-value or worth coming into this. Even in therapy I broke down saying that I'd failed my marriage and I was getting a divorce because I'm unhappy. I now see this thinking is due to the emotional abuse from my ex. I never felt good enough and like I was walking on eggshells in my own home. I'm thankful that I took the steps to get a lawyer because we've been able to document all the verbal harassment from his family. Am I the asshole for keeping track of the outfits my friends wear? A habit I've had for almost 3 years now is that every day I write down a description of the outfits my friends are wearing. I do this with my friends because I go to school with them and I see them every weekday. The exception of when I've done this is when school was virtual and over summers and breaks. I've had the same friends for a while, so I have data on some of them dating back to when I started doing this. I do this because, at first, it was an experiment to see how often they repeat the outfits they wear. If I could find that out, then I could know how often it's acceptable for me to repeat an outfit. Then it just became a habit and I like doing it. It's cool to see how their styles have changed over the years, and sometimes I can predict what they'll wear based on past data. I like the routine of it, and I like going over my findings. My friends have never known that I've done this. I had a friend over yesterday, and I went to the bathroom whilst she was left in my room. I keep all my data on Google Documents. I create a new document for the records each month. So I can easily copy and paste information into Google Sheets if I want to make some kind of a chart. I had left my computer open, and the document was pulled up in another tab. On the original tab, my friend and I had been watching YouTube. My friend says she accidentally closed the tab, and that's how she found my document. She read through part of it and got upset. She told me that it's weird, and now she's told our other friends. They don't care much, but they definitely think it's strange. They don't know that I've been doing this for 3 years. They only know about the document that I've had for this month. I'm a little upset that my friends went through a document of mine, but I don't think she was snooping. So I'm upset with her. My friend says that it's an invasion of privacy and creepy. I don't see why, because it's just an outfit, not something personal. Also, everyone sees her outfit when she leaves the house, so would it really be that different if I just remembered all their outfits? She asked me how I'd feel if she did this to me. But I'd like if this happened to me, and I think it's cool and would want to see data too. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I'm possibly the arsehole because I creeped my friend out. Also, maybe I should have told my friends I was doing this or asked their permission first. Now in the comments, Illustrious Egg says, I mean, I don't think you're an arsehole for this, but I do think it's a little odd. But everyone has their quirks. I can understand why it makes them uncomfortable because, even though that's probably not your intention, people can take that much documentation as a form of stalking or obsession and not see anything past that. Also, the fact you never told them is what made it seem more weird, because if it genuinely wasn't strange to you, you would have told them, right? Did you explain to them how and why it started, so maybe they'd get a little more understanding? And OP replies to that, I never told them, not because I knew it was weird or because I was ashamed or anything, it just never came up, and I honestly didn't think they'd react this way. I didn't see why they'd be creeped out, so I didn't think it was something I had to run by them. I'll try to explain my reasoning to them tomorrow. Thank you. I think you're being disingenuous. You say you didn't tell them not because you knew it was weird or because I was ashamed, but I don't believe you. If you felt it was not embarrassing or weird or shameful, why not mention it? You're the arsehole. And OP replies to that, I didn't mention it because it just didn't come up in a conversation, and I didn't think it was weird or important enough for me to say anything about it. Maybe that makes me stupid, but I didn't know they'd object to it. You are free to believe that I'm not telling the truth, but I have no reason to lie to an anonymous group of strangers who I'll most likely never see in real life. Someone else says, I mean, this isn't something a neurotypical person would do for sure, which is probably why your friends were a little unnerved by it. Are you on the autism spectrum? Sometimes it's hard for some of my autistic friends to understand why certain behaviors are perceived as weird. I don't think this is creepy or uncalled for behavior, just a tracking and collecting of data that's uncommon. Just be upfront with your friends about your reasoning. If they're still uncomfortable, take that into account and delete the document and stop the behavior. Overall, I think that most people are just uncomfortable with the idea of someone watching them that closely and taking notes. People don't like to be tracked or perceived that way, especially if they feel like they're being judged for wearing outfits multiple times, even if that wasn't your intention. And OP replies, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I've also never been tested for it. It's something I'll look into though, so thank you. And now on to the update. I posted about a week ago, and a brief recap is that I recorded descriptions of the outfits that my friends wore over a 3-year period without telling my friends. And when one of my friends found out, she told the others and was upset. Most of the comments called me the arsehole, and I understand where I went wrong now and decided to talk to my friends about it. I asked my friends if I could talk to them, and over the weekend, when we were all free, we talked over FaceTime, and I explained to them why I started keeping track of their outfits, how long I've done it for, and why I kept doing it. I told them that I was sorry for not telling them and didn't realize it would make them upset. I told them I'd delete the information if they'd like, and that I'll stop doing it if they want me to. 2 of my close friends on the call said that they understood what I was doing better now. They said they didn't really mind that I was recording their outfits, but they would have liked to know first. I promised to run it by them if I do something I think might bother them in the future. They asked for me to show them my data, which I did, and they asked me to send them a copy of it because they said they honestly thought that it was interesting. My other friend, the one who originally found the data, said that she was a little creeped out by it, but thanked me for explaining. She apologized for reacting so strongly without giving me a chance to explain, and I told her that it's fine and I don't blame her. So yeah, we're back to getting along now. My friends are great people, and they're a little weird too, which is why we make great friends. I love them, and I'm glad they're so understanding. Thank you very much to everyone who responded to me. I really appreciate your advice and opinions. To the people asking if I have ASD, OCD, etc., I don't know. And I can't get tested for any of these things until I'm an adult, because it's not something my parents would approve of. I've been learning what those things are though, but I wouldn't say I have either, as I haven't been formally diagnosed. To the people calling me a serial killer or a stalker, I'm not either of those, but you're free to have your own opinions. To people calling me dishonest, I don't know how to prove to you I'm not. To the people who compared me to Dennis Reynolds and Darbed, lol. That's all for now, but thank you again. Now in the comments, this situation is a great reason why this subreddit exists. You may have originally been the asshole, but coming here and discussing what you did may have allowed you to take a step back and objectively see what you were doing. And you made attempts to correct your behavior. For that reason, in my opinion, you are not the asshole. People are the asshole if they continue to do weird and crappy behavior without taking other people's consent or comfort level into consideration. Also, OP was in the wrong, but wasn't exactly an asshole either. I see where she was coming from, but I wouldn't have wanted her recording my actions either. It sounds like it was resolved well. And can anyone point me to the answer? How often am I allowed to repeat outfits? All this research and I do not have an answer. My gut says that it may depend on the occasion, like office/school can repeat once weekly, formal events never repeat, casual clothing like hooded sweatshirt and sweats 2 to 3 times per week. Man, I never thought about this until I read this post. Now I must know. And OP replies, oh, I can help with that. Most people don't repeat their outfits in the first week or couple weeks of school, probably because they're trying to make good impressions. After that, it's pretty normal to wear the same outfit once a week every now and then. When it's cold out, it's okay to wear the same jacket or coat often. Every day even. Most people repeat the same pants and shoes a lot, but change their shirts. Fancy clothes, like dresses, don't get repeated too much. Jewelry does. My grandma wears the same necklace all the time, and my parents are always wearing their rings. Would pants be more reworn than tops? I've always recycled my bottoms probably 2 to 3 times while I wouldn't wear the same top in a week. Would be interested to know if it's the same for others too. And OP replies, yes, it's really common to repeat the pants you wear. As long as you don't wear the same pants for the majority of the week consistently, you should meet the average. The exception is an unusual pair of pants or skirt. For example, a metallic skirt or pants with a very specific pattern over them. Am I the asshole for being upset that my ex-husband fed our vegan daughter chicken nuggets? My ex and I were vegan. I became vegan when we moved in together because he was vegan and he didn't like there being animal products in the house. I learned more about the way food was made and I agreed. I was vegan while I was pregnant and we've raised our daughter vegan for the past 8-ish years. We divorced 15 months ago as he was not faithful, but while he was a terrible partner to me, he loves his daughter and during this time I've tried to be a good co-parent. Yesterday, I picked up my daughter from her dad's house. He wanted to keep her late because he and his partner were going to take the kids to a matinee of Frozen. So it's dinner time when I'm getting her. As we are driving home, she says she's hungry. I offered her my purse apple. I should have packed better car snacks for the ride, but she spies the golden arches out the window. She has a full-blown meltdown demanding chicken nuggets. We get home, and she's like blowing snot bubbles, she's so enraged. She howls her way through a bowl of leftover soup. Honestly, I think I was just being an asshole at this point because we have chicken nuggets in the freezer that I could have made, but rewarding that kind of a tantrum seems like bad parenting. She hates me. I'm a terrible mom. Dad would have let her eat chicken nuggets. She wore herself out, crying. She was upset when she woke up this morning, asking if I hated her because she ate meat. Obviously not. I spent the entire drive to school reassuring her that I'm not angry with her, but that I was surprised that she wanted them. I also reiterated that I wasn't happy with her behavior of screaming and hollering when she didn't get what she wanted. I understand that sometimes our emotions feel big, but we have to try and be in control of them and not the other way around. But I am effing pissed because I wasn't aware our hitherto vegan daughter was now eating meat, and I feel like that's a decision that I should have been informed about. I called him after she went to bed, and he told me I was being uptight, and he didn't tell me because he knew that I'd overreact. I'm controlling and I don't need to be privy to every single thing he does when our daughter is with him. I am effing mad. There are vegan options at McDonald's. He didn't have to feed her chicken, but since he did, I would have appreciated a heads up. Also, for a dude who gave me a hard time for craving Oreos, which are frickin' vegan, while pregnant with her, I'm kind of annoyed that he's shoveling crap in her mouth, hand over fist, taking her to McDonald's every week. I'd always felt like when she became old enough to choose her diet, I'd let her make her own decisions. If she wants to eat chicken nuggets, I would give it to her. But I feel wildly frustrated that he unilaterally made this choice. I feel like I should have been made aware. I try to keep him updated on her stuff when she's with me. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, honestly, you're the asshole. I would say that he should have told you, but obviously you would have flipped your lid about it. Clearly she wants to eat meat, and she's old enough to make her own decisions, to some extent, in regards to what she wants to eat. When she's older and can comprehend more fully the nuances of the issue, she may choose to go back to veganism or vegetarianism, etc. Or maybe she won't. But she is an individual, not property, and she should be allowed to make some decisions for herself. I think you could choose to continue feeding her vegan food when she is with you because you are not ethically comfortable preparing or purchasing it. But be prepared she may not understand that and be somewhat resentful. But I don't think you should control whether or not she eats meat when she is not in your presence. And edit, honestly you won't be able to control whether or not she does, so forcing it will only strain your relationship with her and potentially incite her to lie or sneak. And someone replies to that, quote, I mean, don't omnivores by nature make their kids follow their diets? How is that different? As a parent, you feed your kid what you eat and you make choices about their food based on what you think is healthy for them. You don't let them decide what they get to eat. You make the food. Just an FYI, this is what the OP said to me. It really seems that they're treating their kids like property and are not taking account of the fact that everyone is an individual. That's moving a goalpost if I ever saw one. Not the asshole. Everyone seems very focused on the vegan thing, but I don't think that's what this is actually about. It seems like he encouraged you to participate in a certain lifestyle when you were together. Vegan, but also Oreo-less, so presumably he was very health conscious, and then changed his mind. Which is fine, except the understanding was that you both had decided to raise your child the previous way, and he didn't inform you when that changed. It's about communicating with your co-parent. And OP replies to that, he was super health conscious. I'd get reamed out for buying non-organic bananas. It was awful while pregnant because he monitored literally everything I ate for the baby. I'm upset that he chose not to communicate this with me. I try to communicate openly with him about things that she does with me during my days and tend to give him a brief 2 to 3 point summary when we do our exchanges. i.e., she had an upset tummy on Tuesday. She did well on her math test, she likes her new dance teacher, even if it's dumb stuff. And he's out here in the streets giving her McNuggets and keeping it a secret? Well, he has a history of being a lying, cheating asshole. So does it really surprise you that he'd be dishonest, secretive, and hypocritical whenever it suits him to be? And now onto the update. This is an update to a post I made almost 2 years ago about my ex-husband altering our daughter's diet to include meat without telling me. So the kiddo experimented with meat some. We were actually kind of fortunate this happened before quarantine and lockdowns, because we could still visit my parents who are meat eaters and who do cook that kind of food and give her some better options to choose from. She liked beef, but also really likes cows. Favorite animal after cats at the moment, so decided she didn't want to eat that. She didn't like fish, which didn't take me as a huge surprise, because 9-year-olds can be picky like that. The thing she likes the most is breakfast sausage. On Saturdays, we often go to a local cafe and pick up breakfast, a new tradition we picked up last spring as a mental pick-me-up for us during quarantine. If she's feeling like it, she'll occasionally order something with sausages. I tried cooking breakfast for her during our lockdown, but it was not a success. Oh, and eggs. Which makes huge sense because, vegan egg substitutes are crap, and Grandma makes really good scrambled eggs, probably the food I miss the most. We cook those together maybe once a week, and she says she's getting pretty good at it. We still eat primarily plant-based because that's how I cook and is what's cheapest, letting us have some nice luxuries like eating out on Saturdays. So that was the resolution of the meat thing while she's in my custody. We are happy with the solution. Now in the comments, I'm glad the story ended well. If you're going to start eating meat, I can't imagine a lower quality option than McDonald's chicken nuggets. Your breakfast tradition sounds nice. Glad to hear you were being supportive of your daughter's explorations and giving her a safe space to try out what she's comfortable with. For purely gossip-related follow-up, is her dad still with Mandy of the 3 kids, and does she still have to share her bed? And OP replies, he's still with that partner. They are TTC. I ratted him out to his parents, who read him the riot act about how weird the sleeping arrangement was, and they bought him a bunk bed situation, single over double, so she gets her own cot up top when she visits, while the siblings continue to sleep Willy Wonka style on the bottom. My daughter hasn't gone on a rotation since a very bad Christmas visit, so she visits her paternal grandparents instead now that they're vaccinated. They're trying to conceive? They don't have enough room for the kids they have, and his daughter has had issues in the household, and they're trying for another. As per his mother, they are following the age-old logic of, if we have a baby, we'll be too busy to fight with each other. Oh my god, that is one of the most horrible things I've ever heard. I hope they don't succeed in that, because that would be a horrible environment for a child to be born into. And OP replies, I know. She told me, and my eyebrows just about shot off my face. And then we laughed and laughed and laughed because it is just so dumb. Like, this woman had 3 children already, and straight-faced told my ex-mother-in-law that she thinks the reason they fight is they have too much free time. Oh my god. Even if they did have free time, they should pick up a hobby, not another whole damn kid. Am I the asshole for saying I don't know when my mum asked if she was invited to an event? I'm in high school and part of the marching band. Next Saturday, we are doing a band banquet. Basically, what is going to happen is for about 2 hours, the entire band is going to get together, have fun, eat band burgers and homemade jambalaya, honor the seniors, give them a parting gift, and do band awards. The awards are just things like cutest band couple or most memorable band member, etc. And because of COVID, we can only bring 2 guests. This is where the issues begin. On Tuesday, I get a paper saying I won an academic award. This is something else that has nothing to do with the band, it's a school thing. I tell my mum about the award, and she is excited. She asks if she can go, and I say of course. Then she asks about the band banquet. I stand there and she's staring right at me, and I say, I don't know. She then frowns and says, well, if I don't go, I'm not bringing you. She then stomps to her room and takes her shower. I'm thinking she's just a little aggravated, maybe had a long day. I was so wrong. She gets out and she is pissed. Before I go take my shower, I give her the TV remote so she can fix the volume if need be. I turn around and she throws the effing remote across the room and almost breaks my brother's fish tank. I don't want the effing remote. And then she gets out of her chair and slams the door to her room. I go to take my shower, and she's still pissed at me, locked in her room. And my brother shows me something. She sent him a huge wall of text of her saying that she's upset because I'm hurt, okay? I try to do everything right, but I guess I'm not. Or y'all are embarrassed by me. So it just hurts that he doesn't want me at his stuff, so it's all good. Don't worry about it. My brother asked if she was mad at him. I will not go to stuff, and I will not ask questions anymore, but be warned, just don't expect me to say yes or go out of my way anymore. I'm tired of being hurt and used. She has not talked to me since, and any time I'm in the living room, she just sits in her chair, saying nothing and giving me the silent treatment. So am I the asshole for saying I don't know when my mom asked if I was going to invite her to an event? Edit. I would like to clarify this is not an event that you would invite a parent to. It is more of an event for band students to get together since we haven't all met up since football season. Inviting my mum to this event would be like inviting her to prom. This isn't like a graduation ceremony. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I'm not the asshole because all I did was say maybe if I would invite my mum to an event after agreeing to her going to another event, and because of this, she threw something in my direction and is acting like a spoiled brat. Now in the comments, not the asshole. Your mum is overreacting and being a drama queen. There is nothing wrong with you not having an answer when put on the spot, especially if you legitimately hadn't had a chance to think about it yet. Your mum also needs to realize that as a teenager, you have friends and a life outside of the family. It's okay to want to invite your friends and other relatives to these events. Hasn't she heard that parenthood is a thankless job? There are two things to expect from teenagers. They don't think you are cool, and they are not good at showing appreciation. Her reaction is entirely inappropriate for a mum. A child is not responsible for a parent's feelings. Not the asshole. Does your mum have a history of reacting this way? You didn't have the information. And OP replies, yeah, she always has overreacted to things. Like during summer last year, we were playing a card game, and I called her out the multiple times she broke the rules. She then quit mid-game, called me a whiny little tramp just like my father, and stormed off into her room. Your mum called you that? Are your parents together? It's messed up anyway. More messed up if your parents are together. It is abusive to talk to your child like that. Your mum sounds like a... oh, I can't say it here. And OP replies, they divorced back when I was in 2nd grade. I think my dad is an asshole and definitely don't prefer him, but it's not a one-off occurrence for her to say something along those lines when we argue. Do you think your dad is an asshole because of what your mum says about him? Does your dad say bad things about your mum? Divorced parents should not do that to their kid. And OP replies, when he did live with us, he would go do things like go get food for himself, walk over me and my brother ignoring us, and then locking himself in his room. Or one time he got a new phone, and when we asked him to play with us, he said no and stayed in his room all day. Now back to the post, edit 2. So the situation is sorta resolved. Thank you for your support, everyone. Here is what happened. We had a little talk, and she asked for definitive yeses and nos for what I invited her for. I said yes to a concert on Monday and the award ceremony on Wednesday, and no to the banquet. She then went on to explain how she was hurt that I don't want people who supported me throughout the year to show up to the event, which according to her is just an award ceremony, and that's the only important part. It's not, it's a small part of the event. I should understand why she wouldn't want to bring me. She is not going to go out of her way anymore to do stuff for me, and I need to start getting used to being told no, and that she isn't always going to be there for me to crap on her. If none of my friends show up, I need to use that and reflect upon the fact that there are 2 people at home who want to support you, but you don't want to. No apology, but this is behind us for the most part. Now she's upset over some chore stuff and me being a bit lazy and not picking a few things up. Once again, thank you for all of your support. And edit 3, I have made a decision that I really did not want to make. After thinking about it, I have no other way to get there. So most likely, I'm not going to be able to go to the banquet, which absolutely sucks. I really wanted to go, and it's something I don't want to miss, but if I can't get there, I can't get there. And now onto the update. Little recap. A few days ago, I asked if I was in the wrong when I said, I don't know, when my mum asked about using one of my guest tickets for her. She overreacted, and y'all decided I was not in the wrong. Well, I want to give a little update because it turns out I've screwed up, and this could have all been avoided, and I'm partially in the wrong. So I got the tickets from my band director for the event today, and they said in the envelope was 3 tickets, 1 for you and 2 for family. The reason I wasn't sure about inviting her was because the event didn't seem like an event to invite parents to, especially since only 15 minutes of the 2-hour program would have anything to do with me. It is mostly for the seniors. It's too late to apologize and invite her now, and I don't even want to anyway because Saturday we had a talk. I told her that she was invited to 2 other events, but this one I wanted to go to by myself or with friends. She said that she will not bring me, and I made my decision, and I will have to live with it. That if you end up over there by yourself, you can just remember that there were 2 people who wanted to support you that you didn't care about, and I'm not always going to be there for you to crap over me. She's still upset over it because this morning I got a text from her explaining how she was proud of me for making symphonic band, but didn't want to tell me because she wasn't sure how to act because of how I was treating her. She never apologized for her throwing the remote or the temper tantrum that she threw, and I don't have any way to get to the event. She refuses to take me, my only friend who can drive is going to be out of town, my grandpa is in bed with his gout flaring extremely bad, he can't even walk, and it would take about an hour to walk to and from. So thanks everyone who talked to me and tried to help me about the situation, but now that I know this, I understand if you'll believe I was also partly in the wrong. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for me not understanding what was going on, making judgments before I had enough information, and overall just being stupid. I just can't believe this is the one thing that will actually just more or less completely ruin our relationship of all things. Now in the comments, no, you did not F up. Your original answer, I don't know, was exactly right. You didn't know. Everything that happened afterwards is on your mum for reacting like a child instead of an adult and a parent. If she had instead acted reasonably and followed up with, "Can you find out and let me know," or something, then you would be inviting her right now and everything would be copacetic. Honestly, your mum seems so unreasonable here. Is she normally like that? And OP replies, yeah, she gets unreasonable like this every time we get into an argument. Normally I'm in the wrong too, but she always overreacts. Quote, normally I'm in the wrong too. I doubt this very much. The story you are telling with this post is a counterexample. If you take nothing else out of this thread, at least realize that your mother has once again convinced you that you were in the wrong when you weren't. You were being emotionally manipulated. Your mother is an expert at making you feel guilty. She has you convinced that this whole band trip incident, in which a grown woman threw a violent temper tantrum and pouted like a literal toddler, is a both sides were wrong situation because a teenager said something slightly insensitive. Those 2 things aren't even worthy of being in the same conversation, yet she has you feeling guilty over it. You cannot continue taking what your mother says seriously for your own sake. Get opinions from outside sources. Friends or family or even internet strangers are better than letting her convince you that you are constantly at fault for everything. I want to tell you this with so much kindness and love, but your mum's behavior is abusive. You deserve all the love in the world, and I am sending compassion your way. And OP replies, thank you. I actually need this at the moment. Am I the asshole for demanding my mother leave my room after she tried to collect my plate mid-class? This is a really dumb situation, but here. I study online and take class over Zoom. Today I had a class at 6 p.m. and had dinner at my desk as my class started. My family knew that I was at class. They ate without me. I put the plate out of reach behind me on my bed when I'm done with it, fully intending on taking it back after class. As my lecturer is knee-deep in analyzing characterization of a particular sentence, instead of waiting for my response, my mother sticks her head in my room and asks me for my plate. I gesture wildly for her to leave and to close the door, while trying to listen to my lecturer. She asks me for it again, ignoring my motions, until finally I mute myself and turn off my camera and hurriedly, abrasively tell her, I'm in the middle of a class. I'll take the plate back when I'm done. She looks at me like I've smacked her across the face, pulls out of my room and slams my door shut. Am I the asshole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I snapped at my mother when she asked me for my plate in the middle of class. I could have been nicer, but stressed out with work, I was trying to assimilate. I wasn't. Now in the comments, lock the door. OP replies, I'm investing in a lock this week. Everybody sucks. While you were right to be angry with your mum for disrupting your class, your method was messed up. Your mum should respect that you have class and not disturb you. I think you should have just given her the plate and then after class, had a conversation with her about how it's distracting to have people interrupt your lectures. Tell her this class is difficult and you were trying your best to pass, but it's hard. A little white lie goes a long way. Apologize for blowing up at her, and ask from now on, can she please not interrupt your course? I've had issues with this and my parents. I work night shift and sleep during the day. My mum used to wake me up in the morning with a nasty egg and cheese sandwich because she wanted to do something nice for me. But of course, I wanted to sleep more than eat that nasty sandwich. Your mum might have been trying to be nice to you. If she finds that you'd rather not be disturbed more, then she might just do that. It stopped my mum from the egg sandwich wake-up calls. You have to try and have a conversation first. If they can't get it, move out. No assholes here. The mum was trying to do a nice thing, taking the plate, or avoid a mess. That is, if OP usually forgets to bring the plate down, and OP should have their privacy. But older people have even less idea than younger on how to manage the at-homeness of the new life. It should be explained calmly, not during schoolwork hours. Not the asshole. I'm currently working from home and have a sister who is doing school from home. Yet, we have 2, if not more, people in and around the house who think it's perfectly fine to just barge in and interrupt whenever they want. It's weird how people being at home has made others think that the work and schooling doesn't matter. Your mum needs to understand your boundaries. I think you handled that as best as you could. She practically forced you to get upset with her. And now, on to the update. Last month I came to this subreddit asking, am I the asshole for getting frustrated at my mother for coming into my room to collect a plate while I was in a lecture? It was one of several incidents that I'd had with mom, which continued to increase in both frequency and severity. Finally, I was house sitting alone when I completely broke down. I wasn't comfortable at all. The bed I was trying to sleep on would be put to better use as a table. I couldn't determine why, but while on the phone with a friend, I came to the realization that I hadn't been comfortable for a long time, either because mum was constantly barging into my room, or because of the loud birds she insisted upon owning, or any other number of reasons. After 3 hours spent crying into my pillow, sounds pathetic looking back on it now, I scrolled through Facebook and got angry over a photo she'd posted, weeks ago, of me trying to stop a bird from landing on my head. So I retaliated, taking a screenshot of the post and writing an essay about her harmful behavior. My dad contacted me first with a long message. Then he called me, where we had a long discussion about me taking what she says or does far too seriously. When I snapped at him and informed him that fine, I'll stop being a bother, he insisted upon calming me down. Finally, he hung up. And then he called me back, telling me I should visit my GP. Given my family's history of anxiety and depression, as well as a myriad of other mental health crises, it was a fair call. The next day, my doctor took me through the mental health quizzes. She told me I looked fragile and believed the build-up of the pandemic, other family-related dramas, work, and my university course have finally come to a head. Long story short, I'm now on antidepressants and haven't had a conflict with my mother since. I feel fundamentally quieter, like there's not so much going on in my head if that makes sense. It's a weird sensation to describe. Dad believes I've had a complete personality transplant, but I don't think I've changed at all. I actually have the ability to get out of bed now though, which is a nice improvement. The arsehole was me, it was totally me. Unable to perceive small matters just as they are. Small. Who'da thunk? Of course, we'll still have the occasional squabble, but nothing blown as out of proportion as the last month of what I'd considered utter catastrophes. Edit, I'd like to reiterate the following. My Am I the Arsehole was a legitimate error on both mine and my mother's parts. I installed a lock on my door and I'm working on moving out. However, I'm not being abused or manipulated into being docile about abuse. Docile is an interesting word being thrown around, and it's cute some people think I'm drooling into the carpet while scrolling Reddit. I'm not, but my Maremma is, if that's any consolation. She drools while she sleeps. Now in the comments, big internet hug. I don't think you're the asshole. Seconded. Good job, OP. Proud internet stranger here. Thirded. You were not an asshole, and you weren't then. You were dealing with a lot the best way you could. We all do this when we're overwhelmed. It wasn't until I got on anti-anxiety meds that I finally realized all the conflict and wrongness I was feeling from anxiety, and not because I was easily annoyed. And I was 27 at the time. You were doing just fine. Isn't it amazing when your body just unclenches and the clouds clear in your brain? It's not a personality transplant. Your personality just finally has a chance to come out again. That's totally how I would describe it to other people when I first started antidepressants. The clouds just lifted, and I could think more clearly than I could in a long, long time. Maybe ever. My antidepressants are my savior. I don't have panic attacks, and I can think much more rationally and calmly. They really help you be the best you, because they take the edge off the extreme emotions that plague us. Our next post is titled, Am I the asshole for telling my sister that she's overreacting and suggesting that her son was the one at fault? I, 20 female, live with my sister Lena, 31 female, and her 2 sons, James and Luke, 15 male. She's a single mom, and the guy who got her pregnant isn't in the picture. It was very messy, but I don't know what happened, just that she cut off all contact. Anyways, Lena is very protective of her sons. She's only dated one guy since she split with the dad, and gives her children/work all her attention. While she doesn't exactly spoil the kids, it's obvious she dotes on them a lot. James, the younger of the two, is a bit of a troublemaker and isn't the smartest person. He isn't a bad kid, but he tends to get distracted. No ADHD, just a bit of an airhead. His teachers usually don't care or work around it, but his science teacher lost it a few days ago. Apparently James didn't understand what was happening, and even after the teacher explained it multiple times, he still didn't get it and she started screaming at him. According to Luke, James falls asleep in class often as well, and the science teacher was shouting at him for that as well. Well, my sister was furious when she found out, considering James cried and had a bit of a panic attack. Personally, I think he was faking to get people to sympathize with him, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Lena was going off about how she wasn't going to let this slide, but I interrupted her and told her that she was overreacting. She looked confused, so I explained further and mentioned that James needed to get some sense knocked into him anyway, and that he's a bit of a pain to teach. Well, apparently I should not have said that, as Lena started screaming at me. She said that she was shocked I could say such a thing, and then told me to get out of her house. I told her that James isn't a baby anymore, and she really cannot excuse his behavior, but that made her even more angry because she's protecting him. She said she understands that her son can be difficult, but he's trying his best. I get that too, but I think Lena's being a bit extreme by saying that she wants the teacher fired. The teacher is a human, and we all have our limits. I don't think it's fair. Well, I got kicked out and I'm living with my parents again, and my parents have mixed feelings about the situation and have chosen not to comment. So Reddit, am I the asshole for saying what I said and defending the teacher? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I think I might be the asshole because I blamed her son for what happened and did kind of insult him in a way. I also said my sister was overreacting. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. You may be right about James ultimately just having an attitude problem, that's in need of radical correction. But how your sister is raising her kids is utterly not your business. Yup, as a future teacher, I appreciate OP's sentiment. We are only human and have breaking points, but unsolicited parenting advice and feedback based solely on presumptions is never a good move. And edit, just to clarify, no, I don't support yelling at kids in case that was unclear. And OP says, I get that technically it isn't my business, But is it so wrong for me to point out what I don't agree with? Yes, that is literally not minding your business. This is such a nonsensical take though. Kids grow up to live in society and impact those around them, so those around them definitely have a say in how those kids are acting. If you saw one kid beating up another kid, you wouldn't just be like, "Welp, it's not my place to scold the kid or talk to their parents about corrective behaviors because I'm not their parent." Obviously, you shouldn't nitpick every single thing, but you shouldn't just not comment ever either. OP definitely didn't handle it appropriately in this situation, but the fact that they said something isn't the issue. OP had a bad take on parenting because she's young. Sure, the sister should absolutely go have the child tested and checked because he's a kid unable to stay awake and concentrate. But OP's opinion that yelling at him to knock some sense into him is not good either. You're the asshole. That teacher's behavior was completely inappropriate, full stop. You trying to blame the child for a teacher's temper and lack of professionalism is not okay. It'd be one thing if the incident had been dealt with, and then you brought up the possibility of constructive solutions, but saying to knock some sense into him? Completely unhelpful and rude. Jesus. After reading your response comments, you are literally an asshole person and have a lot of maturing to do. You're an asshole for implying that your sister didn't raise her kids right. You're an asshole for saying James needs some sense knocked into him. You're an asshole for defending the teacher. My 3rd grade class had 20 out of 24 students need therapy because of a teacher screaming her lungs out at us. So anyone defending a teacher for taking any aggression out on a student is a massive a-hole. And now onto the update. So I posted this the other day and honestly thought only 2 people would reply saying, "Nah, you're not the asshole." But clearly, that was not the case. I was in denial though, and thought a lot about the situation after reading all your comments, and maybe I do have some resentment towards my nephew. I do not hate him though. We practically grew up together. I was a bad child too when I was his age, and I guess I got jealous of the fact that my sister was so lenient with James while I was grounded, scolded, etc. However, I realized that hating him because of that isn't reasonable in the slightest, and I was a huge B-word. Secondly, I would like to apologize from the bottom of my heart for claiming that tall men cannot have panic attacks. I guess I linked panicking to the wrong thing, and typing this out sounds absolutely ridiculous to me now. Also, saying that I'm 100% sure that he doesn't have ADHD or other problems without even getting him tested was also pretty crappy of me. I apologize. Now for the update. I tried calling my sister last night, but she didn't answer, so I showed up at her house in the morning. She was surprised and got angry really quickly. However, when I told her that I just wanted to apologize, she let me in, hesitantly. So I apologized for calling her overdramatic and for insulting James and assuming he was faking a panic attack. She told me that she didn't accept my apology because I said crap without knowing the full story. She was also upset because James had heard the whole thing. We were shouting pretty loud, and has been in a pretty bad state. Anyways, after she mentioned that I didn't know the full story, I got curious, so I asked her to explain, and she revealed that James doesn't handle confrontation or shouting well because of his dad. She didn't tell me this because 1, it wasn't my business, and 2, I was 13 when they split and my sister wasn't going to tell a 13-year-old effed up stuff. I apologized to James, who said that he'd forgive me, but my sister is still angry and won't let me back into the house. I asked Luke for an update and how they were handling the apology, and he said he wasn't allowed to talk to me. So there's that. I apologized and accepted the fact that I was a major asshole, but my sister hasn't forgiven me and is not letting her kids near me, which, okay, I deserve it, I guess. I'd like to thank y'all for educating me, kind of, and making me realize that I was being extremely hateful and close-minded. I was being extra generous to a grown woman and being overly critical towards a 15-year-old kid. I apologize for that. Once again, thanks, and hopefully my sister forgives me. Now in the comments, you did the right thing by apologizing, and all you can do now is back off and wait. Don't text or apologize anymore. The proverbial ball is in her court now. I feel so bad for James. I'm glad he has a good support system. It's good that you apologize to him, but I do hope you realize that what you said will stay in his mind for a very long time, compounded by the fact that you didn't have much respect for him. Keep in mind that kids are still establishing good coping mechanisms. Hell, everyone is, and some don't have enough life experiences or examples to work with. Unfortunately, adults often look at how kids are adjusting or coping with life and think, damn, she or he must be stupid, lazy, etc. I've been guilty of such thoughts, but I keep reminding myself that we are all still growing and adjusting. Wait for them to make the next move, but maintain contact and make effort for your apology to be sincere. It's good that you see your mistakes, and I hope you take measures to correct it further. I wish you the best, and hope that your relationship with your sister and nephews gets closer after such conflict.